Good evening, good evening, good
Good
evening.
Good evening,
evening.
y'all.
How is everybody doing tonight?
Absolutely amazing.
Well,
Doing great.
welcome to Marital
Marital
Motivation
motivation with
with
the
the Mackies.
Mackies.
So, as you can see, we have a special guest
Woo
today. This is
woo.
Brother Dre. How you doing, sir?
Good. How you doing, brother?
I am doing
How you doing,
magnificent.
sister?
I'm doing magnificent. So, we're going to get started tonight, and we want to give everybody the opportunity to share the podcast, to share the stream.
Absolutely.
Please like it, put it on your social media, all your different platforms. Like we always say, we're just here to have a conversation, here to encourage some people, here to show each other some love,
That's what we do.
and talk about marriage and all the wonderful things that it is. So, I'm going to premise the introduction of this young man. We attended, we were visiting a church here in the Dallas Hiram area called Belong Church Atlanta. And we had decided to visit that church one day. And they were having praise and worship was amazing. The pastor gets up and he says, "We're doing something different today." And I'm like, look at my wife, like, okay, what they gonna do? And they decided to have a panel, and they were talking about marriage and talking about relationship, which is right up our alley. So he was on the stage, and he had an amazing story. And then we would looked at each other and said, "We got to get this man on a podcast."
And let me add this. There were what 6, 7, 8 people on the stage.
hmm
Out of the 8 people, he probably said less than anybody else on the
That's right.
stage, but he was the most impactful out of all the people that were on the stage, in my opinion. I'll put it that way because I don't want to offend anybody else up there. But in my opinion, he was the most impactful to me. So, like David said, we were like, what is his name? And we've got to get him on our panel.
Yes. So it took some time. We looked through the video. They didn't put his name on the screen. We called the church, and 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago,
About 3 weeks
we
ago.
visited
So.
the church again, and we were on a mission. So we were able to find somebody who knew him, got his contact information.
He probably
So
thought we were stalking him.
Nah, you good. You good. Honestly, you good.
I would like for us to introduce Andre, and Andre, just tell us about yourself, and just give us a little backstory on who you are.
Sounds good. Well, thanks for having me, first of all.
Absolutely.
And shout out to Belong for giving us that platform to, like you said, they did something different that time where they allow us to show you the real side of marriage. And certain things that aren't necessarily always shown, in church and in podcasts and platforms like this, which is why I love yours because that's what you're doing. It's a bit different than what the usual, you show like the good, the ugly, the truth, the ups and downs, those kind of things. And that's why I love. So thank you. As far as me, so my name is Andre Soares, and I was born in Brazil, and then grew up mostly in Europe and in West Africa before I moved to NYC in '09. I'm trying to make sure I get the right time. It's a crazy timeline. But yeah, so
All right.
it started in '09 in NYC, and I moved here to Georgia. I moved to Georgia in 2021, and yeah, it's been 2 years, and it's been amazing. Amazing people, amazing culture. I'm blessed. Truly
Awesome.
blessed.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, again, welcome to Marital Motivation with the Mackies.
Thank you.
So, with all of that being said, like I said, we were so drawn to your story. So, if you will, for starters, if you would share with us your love story.
Oh, sounds good. So, so this, now that I look back at it, I know we talked about it before. Um, it's beautiful because of the fact that all the odds were really stacked against us before we got married. So Alexis, my late wife, was so she's from Mississippi, but she lived in Nebraska. She moved from Mississippi to Nebraska, and I was there visiting friends in 2011, in the winter of 2011, so November, December 2011, and I was coming from New York, visiting friends in college in Nebraska, and she was going to college at that time. She went to college very early. I think she was 8. Let's see, 2011. She was born in '93, so she was 18. She was 18. She was going to college right off of high school, and I met her there in the cafeteria when I was visiting my friends, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, I might stay a little longer."
Oh, okay.
I love just everything that she was. You
Mhm.
know, she was just like me. She was a bit on the nerdy side because I'm a nerd. You know, um, she was very, very smart, but more importantly, she was emotionally available and she was accessible in a good way. Not easy,
Mm.
but she was accessible in the sense that she was. Um, she set some boundaries, but she was still open to conversation, to
Okay.
interaction,
Mhm.
and so we clicked really, really quickly, and we actually had some friends in common. People that I
Okay.
was visiting were also her friends in this college at this college, and so that's how we met. 2011, we met in November, and then we started dating in December.
All right.
You
Moving
made the
quick.
move quickly, right?
Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. I was on God's time at this point. I felt it. I felt it in my
You know,
soul.
bitch.
I was. I'm not wasting any time on that.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's cool.
that was amazing.
So y'all started dating after a month. One thing that you said that I really liked, and we talked about this in our last series when we talked to the single ladies. You said that she was available,
Yes.
and a lot of times I don't think people realize you have to present yourself open. Like you said, not easy, but just open for communication, open and receptive with eye contact or whatever it is, because how else are you going to get approached?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah, some guys like a battle, we like a challenge, but at the same token, we ain't trying to run up against a brick wall. You know,
Exactly.
so I
And we're
love
gonna
it.
look at those signals. We're gonna look.
We're gonna look exactly. We are checking. Um, so that's cool. I like that. So how long before y'all got married then?
So we took a little longer. We took our time. We
Okay.
we started dating quick, but then we took our time to get married.
All right.
We got married in 2013, July 31st. So we dated for 2 years.
All
We
right.
dated for 2 years before we got married.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was, but it was a conscious decision. We really wanted to make sure that we did it for the right reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we needed to get to know each other. We needed to get to know our flaws, our strength, make sure that we were able to to work with those things,
Mm-hmm.
and make sure that the both of us were aligned as far as our goals, as far as our purpose as a couple, as a relationship. And so I think I was a little older than her. I was 3 years older than her, but she was the more mature,
Okay.
and she was the one really telling me, don't break my heart. Like if we go down that path,
Mm-hmm.
it'll be for good.
Okay.
Now I'm gonna throw a curveball. Now, you all dated for a little bit longer. How long into the relationship was it before you knew that you wanted to marry her?
Ooh, ooh, that's a good question. I'd say probably it took me a good year. It took me a
Okay.
year. Yeah, 2012 is when I started thinking, but I didn't mention it to her.
Okay.
I kept it to myself.
But you knew. But
But
you
I
knew.
knew.
Okay.
Yeah, I knew.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. I
Okay.
think when we know,
Absolutely.
and any man that says he's unsure or doesn't know, don't drag these ladies along
Please
because
don't.
we know.
Don't send them mixed signals because it's gonna be hurtful. It's gonna be hard.
Mhm.
It's gonna be rough.
Absolutely. Even though my wife said I sent mixed signals for a long time, but you know,
Look at
that was
y'all, 20
because I
plus
was
years
just so
strong. Man.
comfortable with her. 25 years strong.
That's
Absolutely.
huge.
Um, so one of the questions I wanted to ask, if y'all obviously didn't catch, he said his late wife. So um, you lost your wife, and my question is, has that changed your view on marriage?
You
Or
jump. way ahead. Can we get to that point? You jump way ahead.
Well, you sitting over there all quiet, and I'm
Oh
used to you
no,
jumping in. So,
wait, you jumped too fast.
well,
Hold
I
on.
apparently I'm just going to sit over
Yeah,
here
let's
and
yeah,
drink my
yeah,
coffee
drink some
and
coffee.
let
Just
my lovely wife
wet your
run this
whistle.
podcast.
That coffee
So,
amazing.
on that note, Mackie's checking out. Go ahead, babe.
No, don't check all the way out. Just slow down a little bit.
All right.
Okay, so you all got married.
Yes.
What happened from there?
Okay. Okay. So from there, 2013, so we got married, and at this time, I still was not. I came to the U.S. in '09, and I was working on a few things on my end, um, but I was still not able to stay on U.S. soil for like more than 90 days at a time. So I would go back and forth to make sure we could spend time together.
Okay.
But when we got married, I was able to stay to make sure that we could build a family unit, a
Mhm.
healthy family unit, and make sure that I could provide for my family. So from then on, I started working, and then I joined the army in 2014. It actually has nothing to do with. That's something that I've always wanted to do since I
Okay.
got to the U.S. Always wanted to join the military for some reason. I guess
She was in the military, right?
she was in the military
Okay.
too. Yeah, yeah. So she did also inspire me. But initially, yeah, when I joined, I was already, I had my mind made up. Um, I guess because of where I'm from, I'm a natural fighter, and I guess I wanted to put my skills to the service of the nation and do something a little like greater than myself. So I joined in 2014, and this is her when um, her and I skipped some too. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Okay,
I
tell your
forgot.
story, sir.
fine.
Tell your story.
Yes, because in 2013, that's when she got pregnant with
Okay.
our first one, Elijah, my oldest son.
Mhm.
So before I joined the army, she was pregnant with Elijah, and Elijah actually was born a couple of months before I shipped out for training. Oh yeah, so everything kind of happened within that year between like 2013 and 2014. Then I joined, and I was stationed in Texas. So
Mhm.
her and I moved to Texas, and then this is when we started to build up together. And then 2014, 2015, 2016, 2018, we moved to Arizona, another state, another station.
Mhm.
You jumped a little bit because the second little one came along in there as well.
You're right. In 2016, absolutely. Isaiah, my youngest one, 2016, we were in Texas still at that time. Uh, and so that was a blessing for me. I wanted a lot of kids. We were kind of like, it was kind of like the one thing we weren't really like, we were still like, not arguing, but we were still trying to figure out how many kids we wanted and what kind of dynamic we wanted in this family.
I got
Personally,
you.
I told her I want 13 kids,
Ooh.
but she's like, I think I'm gonna stop at 2 or
Yeah,
3.
that was an argument. Okay.
It was, and my baby fever still hasn't gone down. So,
Okay.
but yes, it was a blessing, definitely. She blessed me with a beautiful family. She was an amazing mother,
Mhm.
very caring, very nurturing. Um, so we were really happy for those years. And then 2019, we were in Arizona at that time. We were going through a rough patch, trying to figure things out. Fortunately, she had a couple of mental disorders as well
Okay.
that weren't diagnosed earlier. So we found out, a little later down the road.
Mhm.
And I did everything I could to help her, to
Mhm.
assist her, find her resources and things that she could use to, to address that and be able to live with it and
Mhm.
handle it. But
Now,
unfortunately,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. Now, did you see signs
Oh,
of that
good.
earlier, or did you not see anything until around 2019?
That's a great question. I didn't see anything early. Yeah, it was very, very. Everything was very like very stable, very consistent. So that's a good question. I actually only started seeing, a bit more like more outbursts, more um, like mood swings, um, and that's when things started to get a little rough around 2019. Yeah. So we tried everything. Her family also was also involved in helping her, and addressing things. And unfortunately, she was not able to handle, whatever um, issues she was dealing with. And in 2019, that's when she committed suicide. That's how we, fortunately, that's how we lost her.
Sorry to hear that.
Definitely sorry to hear that.
Appreciate that.
Um,
So big, big, big blow to the family.
Huge blow.
You have now two, and I've gotten a chance to love on these beautiful boys.
I'm sure that they love. They'll take any love they can.
they are some wonderful young
They
men.
are.
Thank
So
you.
I'm now a auntie.
I tell them, I preach.
So you have these two beautiful boys, and now you're faced with this trauma of raising these two boys without your wife.
That's right. Yeah.
What did life look like for you with that in that next stage of life? What did that look like for you?
So picture that, like you said, everything happened really quick. And so, like you said, I ended up going from, a functional two-parent household with her support to dealing with a situation myself. Now, keep in mind, I have no family in the country, so I didn't have anybody to lean back on, to find support. My mom supported me, but she is 15,000 miles away in France. So,
Wow.
she did everything she could. She came, every year to visit and trying to help me figure, that out and things like this. But overall, I was pretty much by myself. And, with what happened, her family and I were kind of like clashing at the time. We were kind of beefing, because um and I keep it real. So
Yes.
it's not to judge them or pass
Mhm.
judgment or to deflect the responsibility on them. But we had our disagreements as to what happened. I believe that more could have been done for her on their side, and I believe that I was responsible for what happened. And I think, in the midst of all that, I think anger was really the common, and I think that's what you would think right away. Like it was the common denominator
Mhm.
to the situation, diffused to that situation. So we were really angry at each other. So I had no one, not even their family, to lean back on. So it was just me and my kids, trying to figure out, how to father, how to be a single father, um, and also trying to deal with the grief at the same time.
Now, how old were the boys at the time?
So when that happened, 2019, Elijah was 5 and Isaiah was 3.
Yeah, because I look and I'm thinking it's inevitable almost for the families to clash
Mm-hmm.
because when you're grieving, you have anger, you have grief, you have sadness, and when you're broken like that, your initial response is either to fight or flight, and so that initial response is going to be to lash out and blame, and you know, but you have to leave room for God to come in and heal, and that was going to be my question. I know you're going to continue the story, but you know, did your relationship with God grow or suffer in that time frame?
Wow. No,
Oh, yeah, we're
that's
going
great.
in. We're going deep.
I love that because I forget to mention how God played a
Mhm.
role in this situation. But God did.
Mhm.
At that time, I didn't have the best relationship with God.
Mhm.
I was away from the church. I've been away from the church at that time in 2019. It was probably had been like 6, 7 years, since I've been in the church. I was not praying regularly. I still believed in God, but my relationship was broken. And when that happened, it definitely made things worse initially because I felt like God really let me down. And as a man, maybe I didn't have the comprehension, maybe I didn't have the oversight or the right perspective to understand that God still loved me, even in those tough times. Like God still loved me, but at that time, it definitely suffered. Um, it was really just me against the world. That's how I felt, and I was on my grind trying to provide for my kids and trying to figure out how I'm going to move forward without her family. And it hurt me too, not just because of the support aspect, but for the kids. You know, I wanted to make sure that the kids still had their family. I didn't want to take them away from anyone. It was never my intention. So I definitely suffered as far as my relationship with God, but I think, the way things unfolded right after that gradually helped me going back
Okay.
to God.
Mhm.
Because from 2019 to probably 2021, my sons and I went through therapy, which is something that I recommend to anybody going through grief or um, depression, or even like
Absolutely.
mental illness, anything that you might be going through. Just know you're not alone, and it's really important for you to be able to express those things to someone who is qualified, someone who knows how to find your triggers, how to like disassemble your whole childhood and your
Mhm.
dynamics and other things you've been through. So I think it's really important that we stop, putting a stigma on therapy. Like,
We agree 100%.
right, it doesn't make you crazy.
100%. Right.
Exactly.
It doesn't make you automatically, dysfunctional or automatically, and you don't have to be shameful of that. So really, really make sure that you seek help if you need it, because that's the reason why she passed away, because
Mhm.
she did not have that love, that support. Uh, she could have possibly, and I know we don't want to do what ifs and we don't want to, hypothesize and all those
Mhm.
things, but she could have probably been saved if she accepted that help that we tried to give her. But yes, from 2019 to 2021, we went through therapy, play therapy, group therapy, and I had my own grief counseling as well. And I was actually, it's funny that I didn't realize that until now that we're talking about it, that my grief counselor was actually from a church.
He
Connection.
orchestrates
Okay,
he
right.
orchestrates everything,
I
sir.
had right.
Mhm.
I just realized she was amazing. Her name was Dee,
Mhm.
and it was this church in Arizona that was providing free services for veterans and single fathers. And so I would meet her at the church, but on the weekdays when the church was closed, and she had her own office, and she really helped me navigate through that grief. And I didn't realize until now that she was part of a church. I forgot, but yeah, it was a church,
Mhm.
and they had like a building next to it,
Okay.
uh, to help people with mental health
Mhm.
issues. They also had like a rehab
Okay.
facility
Mhm.
for substance abuse. And so, yeah, she was amazing. So for those 2 years, we worked through it. And I think, initially I was a wreck. I mean, for the first 6 months, I would cry every day. I was sleeping, watching TV, going to work, sleeping, watching TV, going to work. I was pretty much, I was, I was gone. I was a zombie. But they helped me. All these professionals, they helped my kids, but they also helped me deal with their grief. Um, and in that span of 2 years, I think this is when I started getting closer to God again, because I felt like maybe I'm loved. Maybe some people do care about my situation. And I'm not the type to ask for help. Like, I've been providing my whole life, so I tend to carry everything on my shoulders. Um, but those people helped me and they were genuine. And I think this made me realize that God was always there. I just failed to see that at first. Like, I was so angry and so resentful. I failed to see that.
I'm gonna get back. I want to get back to the portion of I know that where you were headed earlier, but I want to ask this. Now you mentioned about your mother being so far away, but now here you are, a single father. What example did you have for fatherhood with your two boys now? What example had you had in your life for fatherhood?
None. That's a great question. I had no, where I grew up, and unfortunately, it was really common from where I'm from. We really didn't have our fathers for the most part. I never knew mine either. He left when I was one. He came back a couple of times to check on us, but overall, like, I never had a relationship with my dad. I was raised by a single mom.
So my question then, because this goes to, I'm not discounting men that grow up without fathers.
Hmm.
I think with every situation, though, there are those that thrive and those that don't thrive.
Amen.
And so my question is, being that you did not have a father figure in your life, how is it that you have created such a great relationship with your two boys and become such an excellent father? And I'm going to tell you that you're an excellent father, even though I know in your head your first thought was, I'm not excellent. You're an excellent father.
Reading my
We've seen you in
mind.
action. We've seen
I've
you
seen
in
him in
action.
action. And it's not just seeing him in action. You judge things by the fruit. And I see how your sons, even at 7 and 9, how they talk to people, how they interact with people, and the respect and the love that they
How
have.
loving they
They
are.
are. So
Absolutely.
my question to you is, how did you, not having a blueprint, create what you created with your sons now?
That's why they're professionals. They're just wow. Y'all just good. This is good. Wow. I love that you bring this up. It's really important
Mhm.
because you made a really good point saying that we certain people, are going to make certain decisions, right?
Mhm.
And so I feel like one thing that, I grew up in the trenches, and every time in the hood, all I heard it, I was guilty of that, saying that too. I'm a product of my environment. That's all we've been saying. That's what you
Mhm.
heard. But the truth is that we are our environment. We're not the product of our environment. And it's something that I realized growing up. We
Mhm.
are the environment. So we
Okay.
make certain decisions. And it don't matter where you come from, what you look like. If you want to break generational curses, you can. But it's a matter of conviction,
Amen.
commitment, choice. It's a matter of willpower. And I think it's important for people to realize that even though I didn't have a dad, and to answer your question, um, I wanted to be a different dad than mine. I wanted to be present, involved. And so from the moment they were born, um, I even like postponed a training exercise so I could attend their birth because I wanted to be there. Um, and I don't want no credit, no cookies, but it's just to say that I take that very seriously. And
Mhm.
so I really wanted to break this curse of, the deadbeat father, or the lack of male figures in the household. It
Mhm.
could be uncles, cousins, it could be like a friend of the
Mhm.
family. We even though you don't have a father figure, you need like a male figure at least. You need both. You need a female figure and you need a male figure. And I think it's extremely important. And so I decided to take a different route. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to let my story affect the way I'm going to raise my children. And I, I've been loving them since day one, and they are a blessing, and I would not trade it for anything.
Now y'all see that smile?
Okay.
That's a sign of
I
fatherhood right
mean,
there.
you
Okay.
talk
When you
about the
talk about the
kids,
Beautiful.
it's
kids,
over.
you just light up and everything. So
It feels good.
absolutely, it's a wonderful thing.
So now I'm going to tap in because you said that there needs to be a female figure as
Amen.
well.
Ooh, I
So,
love that. This is gonna be good. And they have children too, so they know what's good.
so with all of the things that you have gone through, and this is where David was going earlier, with all of the things that you've gone through, the finding this love, creating this beautiful family, then going through this devastation, and then going through the healing process, what is your view now on marriage?
Not just what your view is, but
Wow.
what the view is and what's different from your view originally
Original.
and now. So start with what your view on marriage is now, how it differs.
Okay. Um,
We'll give you a minute to process.
that's a great question, but yeah, I want to make sure that I answer it, including everything. So my view of marriage now, I think now that I have a closer relationship to God, there are certain things that I want, that I didn't necessarily take in consideration before.
Okay.
For example, I need, of course, I need for for us to both have a relationship with God. It don't have to
Mhm.
be perfect, but
Okay.
I want us to both like pursue that relationship with God. I also want to have, you know, there are certain things that I want to set up. I want to get to know my partner first before I make that commitment. Maybe get to know them a little better because I know that I had 2 years before, but you know I was going back and forth between Europe and the U.S.
Okay.
And so it was like um, I didn't get a chance to use this full 2 years to get to know my partner. Their triggers, you know, things
Mhm.
that cause some issues further down the road.
Mhm.
Maybe I would have, you know, noticed certain things, certain patterns, and I could have
Okay.
maybe helped her earlier
Mhm.
or make a different decision as far as my marriage goes. So definitely right now, I just want to, you know, make sure that I'm honest. I mean, I've always been pretty honest, but I want to make sure that I show my partner everything, the good, the bad, my flaws, my strengths, my weaknesses, before we commit. Before, um, I've always respected the institution of marriage, but before, you know, I didn't necessarily have the maturity to to think about all those things
Mhm.
before I jump in, before I take that leap of faith. And sometimes it worked. Sometimes you still, you know, married after 30, 40, 50 years. But sometimes when you jump too fast, things just you crash and burn. And I think, you know, that was my main mistake before. So I want to be a little more I want this to be a little more thought out before yeah, before I jump.
I hear you on that. Do we think it out?
Yeah, we thought it out. We were friends for how many years?
Yeah, I think that was the
So,
thing for us, just being friends.
right,
Mhm.
because we weren't putting up any airs. When you're dating, I think so often you're trying to put your best foot forward each time you
Yeah,
see each
absolutely.
other. So therefore, when David came to my house to see me, I wasn't like, "Oh my goodness, let me make sure everything is perfect." No, he came to my house. I would have rollers in my hair and everything else because it was
Let's
just my
go.
buddy coming by to hang out. I wasn't trying to impress him. It was just my buddy coming over to hang out with me. Um so you got what you got, you know.
That's what I love because y'all mentioned that
Mhm.
y'all were friends
We were
first.
friends and
Yeah.
there was no interest there.
Mhm.
We were not trying to impress each other to date each other. And so it was just like my brother coming by the house to hang out with me. So
Mhm.
yeah, you saw the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between,
I
so
did. I do love that we were friends. Whenever I think about our relationship, there's one moment that always sticks out.
Oh, please, please tell.
I know
Now,
where he's going.
she was. Were you watching the props?
I was
Yeah,
babysitting.
she was babysitting
We want all
some
the details.
friends. She was babysitting some friends, and I came over to check on her. Because I knew them, knew the kids, knew the parents, all that good stuff. Um, and we were watching TV, and when Harry Met Sally came on,
Mhm.
old movie, and the whole premise of the movie is men and women can men and women be friends and not be in a relationship without sleeping with each other. Okay, that's the whole premise of the movie. And she says something like, "Well, me and you are friends, and we don't have any issues." Blah blah blah.
Any interest in each
Any
other.
interest in each other? See, she always correct. And I remember saying, "Yeah, but I think you're beautiful."
That's beautiful.
And her face twisted. She was
Contorted.
so embarrassed.
What happened?
Because I wasn't expecting him to say that. I mean, I thought he just looked at me as just a plain Jane friend, but he was like, yeah, we're friends. He was like, but I think you're beautiful. And I was like, what? I never expected that from him. And I was like blushing, but I mean, I was like, my face was almost contorted. I was blushing so hard because I never expected that from him. I never thought I was his type,
Yeah.
so I wasn't expecting that. And I was blushing like super, super, super duper hard and was actually probably quite embarrassed,
Yeah, you
and
were.
I don't get embarrassed easily.
That's kind of smooth though.
You know, I wasn't trying to be smooth, but you know, it was just one of those things that, you know, I look at her and
You knew.
I don't think I still don't think I knew then,
Mhm.
but I there was something already there,
Yeah.
you know, and I said this in the conversation the other day is when you meet that person and you I think sometimes I don't believe in soulmates, but I do believe that when you meet your person and you're both open, there is just some connection that's there. And we had that connection. And I don't know what it was, but it was there. I never felt more comfortable with anybody in my life until I met her.
Yeah.
You know, there was nobody saw the real me. I always had up the wall. I always had up the facade. I always put on whatever mask that I needed to wear at that point in time to impress that person or shield myself from the person that I was talking with so they couldn't get in. And I never did that with her. So it was just there, you know. So, you know, I love her. I do.
I brought out the best in you.
Oh
Here she
yeah.
go.
Tell me now. We're gonna be background singers.
Okay.
Let's get it.
Mhm. That's all her. Ain't no singing over here. Mm. But
Okay.
That's amazing.
what question do you have? Or do you want to throw anything out at us while we're in a pause area? I guess.
Yeah.
Oh
'Cause
yeah.
I'm you know I'm coming back with some more.
Oh no, I
Mhm.
got a lot of questions for you.
Okay.
Come on with
Um,
it.
Bring them.
but I love that. So you say you've been married for 25 years, right?
Yes.
25 this year.
Yes. This year was 25.
Yeah.
Next year will be 26.
Hey.
If you
Woo.
Goodman, that's in 4 months. In March.
March.
March of the
Or
26th.
yeah, it'll be 26 years.
That's amazing.
Mhm.
More than a quarter century. That's great.
Ooh, when you say it like that.
Yeah, but it's in a good way.
No, it's
I'm
a
not
good
trying to
way.
make you feel old. I
No,
promise.
but I'm like, man, a quarter century. That's some time.
That's it.
That's some
That's an
time.
achievement. Yeah. And I
Mhm.
think what I wanted to know, like what I was really interested to hear from is, so how do you feel about we're gonna talk about the podcast culture, like that includes the podcast culture, social media,
Mhm.
and society as a whole. What is something that you feel like as a strong married couple, um, something that you like to see more in our culture, in our communities, something that you like to see shifting to improve the dynamics of marriage, relationships, and homes?
You need time to think.
You going to start
All right,
first?
while she's thinking,
Mhm.
the first thing for me is there needs to be more increase in respect of
Okay.
one another. I feel like society, social media, everything is about clapping back, is about my truth, you know, and we use my truth more as an excuse to do whatever we want to do rather than what it's meant for. And I feel like the lack of respect for one another, the lack of respect for what a man is, the lack of respect of what a woman is, and what they mean to one another in a marriage is the thing that I want to see change. I want to see more love. I want to see more honoring your husband and honoring your wife. I want to see more, you know, treat your wife like the jewel that she is, you know, and stop trying to keep up with the Joneses. Stop trying to follow all these trends that they have on social media. Stop trying to do all this stuff to get likes and seen and put that effort into your relationship
Yeah.
because that's what lasts. These people that follow you, they don't care nothing about you. They have no impact really on the core of your relationship, but you will ruin your relationship for them, for these people out here that are not even tangible. You're gonna ruin this, you know. So yeah, that's for me. That's something that I would love to see change. Just the the level of respect for one another as husband and wife, man, it's not it's lacking and it's out there,
Mhm.
but I would like to see more light shined on it. But as human nature to gravitate towards negativity. It's human nature, you know. And if we don't change our perspective and look at things for what they are, that it's negative, it's degrading, it's destructive to your relationship, then you're just gonna keep doing the same thing. You know?
Yeah, and I piggyback off of what you're saying because I 100% agree. And if I can even just reference old school 90s or even probably go back even further than that, R&B music. I was sharing with a friend of mine, and I was like, when they wrote songs back in the day,
Mm.
you knew he loved that girl when you
Yes.
listen to the lyrics of the song, and vice versa. When she said so, I was like, yeah, she loved that man, listening to the lyrics. And now you listen to the lyrics and he's calling her all kind of bees and whatever. And she is like, ding, like you're impressed by that?
Right.
Like, are you serious? That's love? Is that what you really think love looks like? It, maybe I'm old fashioned,
No, I don't
you
think you
know.
are. I don't think you are. Yeah.
I call it respect,
Mhm.
but yeah, I'm just, like David said, just to piggyback off of what he said, it is really about the core values,
Mhm.
that I think that so many people have gotten away from. Truth of the matter, personally, I could care less about what anybody outside of this house thinks about me. As long as he respects me, as long as he's loving me, I mean, because I've even seen people comment things on social media like, oh, this, it's this one thing that was going around on Facebook, that was saying like, this is what people look like on Facebook, and they would show couples all hugged up together. And it was like, but this is what's really going on at home.
Oh yeah.
And
I've
it's
seen that.
like, that's not always the case. Like, what
Mhm.
makes, why would you even think that for some people,
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I just think that just be authentic, be who you are, but this it just needs, you just need to be real,
Mhm.
Yeah.
just
That's
people need to
one
be
reason why
real.
we love doing this, though.
Right.
It's
Right.
just like I know people that are in bad marriages. I know people that are in great marriages, but on my job, I have so many younger people that work for me, and I listen to the stuff that's going on in their life, or they'll be like, "Mr. Mack, can I ask you a question? What if blah blah?" And I'm like, "That is a red flag. That is a red that is a red flag."
Automatic.
One like
Come on now.
But they don't know.
Yeah.
And we want to be able to put stuff out there so people can see, because if you don't see it, you're ignorant to it.
Mhm.
Like you talked about growing up in the trenches
Yeah.
and being a product of your environment is what people always say. And if that's all you know, that's all you believe that you can grow to.
Exactly.
So if they don't see good marriages, if they don't see great relationships, if they don't see a husband that can communicate his feelings and emotion, or a husband that knows how to nurture his children, or a wife that knows how to respect her husband and love on him and trust him, then if they don't see it, they don't know that they can grow to it. So that's part of the reason why we do what we
And I love that you hear this from a very, healthy and functional, married couple, because y'all need to pay attention to what David and Leslie said, because that's what, like you mentioned, this is why you doing
do.
this. And I'm the same way. Everything I do is for the culture. It's for the community. And I really appreciate you sharing, because I feel like it's not enough people who have the courage to point those things out.
Mhm.
And I think people confuse generational. Like people often, they will say, "Oh, that's because we're from a different generations. We grew up in the '90s, 2000s. Things are different." But the things is, in life, sometimes it's not always good to be progressive about everything. You can be progressive with certain things, but you got to be conservative with certain things. There are certain things that need to be preserved, like you say, respect, values, love, decency, um, kindness, transparency, all those things. You just because we are evolving doesn't mean that we have to get rid of those values, to rid those, like, it's not a generational thing. It's not about being a boomer or being a millennial, being old school, old fashioned.
Mhm.
It's about decency. It's about being a good human being and trying to be the best version of yourself. And I think people fail to realize that they think that everything has to change. Not everything has to shift. There's certain things that need to be kept,
Mhm.
that we need to keep, that we need to protect, or else we'll go down the path that we don't want to go down to.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I kind of have an issue with that too. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It, you, mhm. It just made me think the framework of a car has not changed.
yes,
You still got four wheels. You still got the framework. You still got a steering wheel. You still got the brake.
you heard.
You have to have those things. Cars have changed over the years, but the framework is still the same.
Yeah.
You still have to have the framework, which is God and true relationship and all those other things that you listed. All the other stuff, yeah, it's going to change with time, but the core, we got to get back to the core of what it's about. And, it's in the scriptures, and you have to just love your wife like God loved the church and he gave his life for it. So everything I do, I'm doing with a mindset of sacrifice for her, and I know she feels the same.
Wow, that's deep.
So
You got something else for us?
Yes, but I'm gonna keep it.
he's gonna
Yeah,
keep it for a
I'm
little
gonna.
bit.
Yeah, because it's good, but it's yeah.
So we talked about the differences in how you looked at marriage prior to now. Um, how has that changed the way you date? Because that's a whole other ball game now.
Speaking of changing the cultures,
Right.
somebody.
We did an
Woo!
episode on dating last time, but it's been 25 years. It's a whole different ball game. So
Yeah.
my thing is being married once already, you know, what does it look like nowadays? What is yeah, I can't wrap my head around it. I ain't trying to be out there.
I'm glad you ain't.
Hey, you ain't got to worry.
I'll be
You
honest
ain't
with
got to worry.
you. Wow. Well, first of all, like I'm gonna tell you something. I am really lucky,
Mhm.
because I found someone that's amazing. And I'll get to that, but just to say that um, I found someone who really had all those values, that had that vision. But before her, dating was rough. And like you said, just being a widow, a widower, and being married previously,
Mhm.
I had certain expectations. So it was really rough for me. Like dating has been pretty much a disaster from 2019 to September 13, 2023. Shout out to Dawn. I love you, baby.
There you go.
But it's been, yeah, before her it's been a disaster. It's complete. Because well, I took a 2-year break,
Mhm.
like that, from 2019 to 2021, to go through therapy and heal, to make sure I don't bring that onto my next relationship. So I didn't date for those 2 years.
Respect.
Right. And honestly, I wanted to from time to time. I'll be honest with you, because I needed that contact. I needed that interaction. I felt lonely, but I really fought it. I really fought to try to be on my own, and trying to figure certain things out. And then I started dating again, around 2021, end of 2021. But it was really rough because of a few things.
Mhm.
Being married, already, I knew my marriage was great up until the last year, where things started to get a little, a little rocky because of the issues we had, right? But we had a great marriage overall. It was functional, it was healthy. We had a family unit. The thing is, a lot of people we date now, they aren't willing to put their work in. Like they aren't willing to, like they don't understand that to build a family, it takes a lot. And a lot of people, they want the fireworks, they want they want the success, they want the um how to explain this, they want the flashy side of the relationship, the good things, the fun things, right?
All
And
the
then
rewards without the work.
exactly. Yeah, they don't realize that some days you're not gonna be on your best. You're gonna have some bad days. You're gonna disagree. There's gonna be friction. There's no such thing as, and I'm sure y'all can confirm,
Oh,
as a
absolutely.
frictionless marriage.
There's no such thing as a frictionless marriage. No.
So but like in this culture, in this era, like you said, it's very performative. So when you date now, it's more about the performance, it's more about the representation, it's more about the image. How do we look together? Do we look good? We got a nice car, we're going to
Oh my,
fancy
come on.
spots. Yes, pull out your phone, get the Instagram picture. You feel me? It's bad. It's really like that, especially in Atlanta. Because there's a big celebrity culture out here. Um, it's the entertainment industry is huge out here, so there's really that effect as well, that impact on dating. And so people that you want to date, they have those expectations. They expect you to be established. They expect you to be perfect, to be flawless, to have everything together, right? But so that was my issue, my first issue. And then being a widower, I was very, very protective of my kids. Like, God bless.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm gonna
man.
have to put that out on the audio and everything.
I'm sorry. We live. Sorry. Had to cough. I'm sorry.
It's good. But yes, I think I was very protective of my kids because I was in a situation where I was like, they lost their mom. So if I introduce them to a woman, that's gonna be the last. I'm not trying to have women going in and out the house, and I'm not trying to see. I don't want my kids to see me doing that, because I want to make sure they understand what a good man is, and
Ooh.
that includes not messing around, not fooling around, and that includes being consistent with women. And so that's why I had a hard time, because a lot of people didn't understand my situation, what I went through, and they didn't understand what my kids needed. They didn't respect it. They were like, "Why don't you introduce me to my kids? Why can't we just, or why can I just, move in, come in?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry, but I have to set some boundaries to make sure that they're good. And once I know that you're the right person, once I know that they're safe and they're taken care of and they're loved, then I'll let you in." But it's very few people who are willing to deal with that. So it was rough for me for a couple years. Um, and honestly, I was going to give up. I'll be honest with you, I was going to give up. Before I met Dawn, I was on a 6-month break. I had no interaction. I was not on the dating scene. I was just doing my own thing, working on my own business, on my own ventures, and taking care of my kids, because at this point I was like, maybe that's just not gonna happen right now. So I really, really, and I told her that too, that I really didn't believe in dating anymore. And I think we have to be. Um, I want to, like, I'm thinking about all the folks dating right now, and it's both ways. Like, women dating, men dating, they're going through the same issues. And I think we need to, like you said, we need to put more love, just like we need to put love in your marriage. We need to start dating with the right intentions again. We need to start, um, approaching people with kindness and decency. And we need to make sure that, if we need to invest in people more, and not financially, but like emotionally, spiritually. If you want to date, make sure that you show that level of commitment to whoever you date, so you guys can start building something off of that. Right now, it's mostly mutually beneficial relationships. That's what dating is right now, for the most part, which is sad.
That is,
Yeah.
it's like a business transaction.
That's what it is. It's a business.
Okay.
That's exactly. I couldn't put it better. Like, this is, it's transactional. It's all about what can you do for me, what can I do for you, and as long as we meet each other's financial needs and professional needs, we good. But there's no work on the rest. There's no work on the spiritual. There's no work on the emotional. There's no work on I want to get to know you. I want to get to know your family. I want to get your family's blessing.
Mhm.
Um, I want to get involved with your children, but like in a good way. I want to show you that I love you even at your lowest. Right. We don't have that. There's a
That
disconnect there
that's just missing from society in general.
in general. Yeah.
And so it's got to be amplified in the dating community because it's like there we have this cancel culture.
Yeah.
One and done. I'm done with you. I don't want to do anything. And with you, I don't want to be involved with you.
Mhm.
But we have to understand that we are all people, and we got to give people the same grace that we want and empathy that we want. And I think that's part of probably another thing that's missing because it's like when you're at your lowest, if you have something that's knocked you off your feet, is that person going to still be in your corner or are they going to cut and run the minute something gets hard? But that's just society. Everything is microwave. Everything is right now. I can easily get on my phone and get my food in 5 minutes. I can order off of Amazon and have it here tomorrow, unlike my lights that didn't show up on time.
Yeah, Amazon, you messed up big
y'all messed
time.
up. Y'all messed up. But everything is so right now. So if you don't get instant gratification, I feel like people just, all right, I'm done. On to the next one. And that's a shame.
You're right. Yeah.
It's
And
a
it's a
shame.
good point because I think you made a really good point in saying that it's not just in dating,
Mhm.
like you said, it's in every aspect of society now. For instance, even in the creative field where I am, it's all about overnight sensation. How can I get to this bag as fast as possible? Like people no
Mhm.
longer study the craft. They no longer. I'm like people tell me I'm old school because I decided to study creative writing in college before publishing, or
Mhm.
because I don't have a huge presence on TikTok, on BookTok, things like that. But it's a choice, because I want to learn about the craft first. I want to take my time. I do the same with dating. I do the same with relationships. And I think you made a good point. We need to really start looking at our new behaviors, the things that we start doing now. Instant gratification, like you say, it's bad because you got to realize if you want to be successful in your relationship, you have to show your partner that you will be here for them unconditionally, regardless of what they're going through, whether they're worth $100 million or
Mhm.
$10. If you here for them, they will eventually they will figure it out, and you'll be coming out of this stronger. And then eventually, you can build that relationship based on that. We need to stop, expecting, like you say, expecting instant reward, and we need to start taking our time, get to know each other. Same with networking. I feel like it's a huge problem too.
Mhm.
A lot of people nowadays that network like, hey, add me on IG real quick, and then they check your profile, see if you got enough clout. And
Mhm.
if you got enough clout, then you get a message. Hey, la,
Mhm.
la, la,
Yeah.
it's like it's based on what can they do for me? Are they going to be useful? It's not based on, hey, I want to know what they're doing,
Mhm.
what their name is, where they're from, what their background is. And it's like we really need to start building things up like this in everything that we do and take
Key
our time.
word there is building. We don't build anymore.
You're
We
right.
just throw stuff up. You
See it.
know, in our relationship with God, it's built on a foundation, and we learn and we grow. Our marriage is built on a foundation. We learn to grow, but you got to put in the foundation. You got to put in the structure. You got to put in the stuff that's going to make it last. And
Last.
so,
Amen.
all right, what else you got, my love?
So
I
I
see
do
you
have a
pulling up some
question.
notes.
Right, I have one more question for you.
Mhm.
So I believe that God orchestrates our lives. Everything that we go through, there's a purpose, and God orchestrates our lives. So I just heard you talk about you being a creative. Um, with what you have gone through in your life and where you are today, what do you believe the purpose was? What do you think God
Mhm.
wanted you to get out of, or what do you think God is building upon? to bring you where you are today and where you're going.
Mm,
That's
wow.
good.
Yeah, that's really good.
That's good.
Wow. Okay. Um, that's a great question. So I think it's something that I've always wanted to do even before I lost Alexis. My purpose since I was pretty much 5 was to guide and protect people. And I think it's something in my nature. I've always been a protector. I've always been a guide. Um, and so, I think my purpose, and it's not something that I necessarily figured out right away. It took me years to figure it out. But my purpose with, God and my creative endeavors is to challenge people, first of all, in the good way, to challenge the toxic beliefs, the toxic trains, to challenge the preconception, the misconceptions. I think that's my first thing, which kind of like ties to education. I think it's something that I really want to push for. I use my platform every day to try to like go against the grain and do what we call like de-influencing because I don't like that term of influencer. I don't believe in that. I think God is the only influence, should be the only influence. I don't believe in idols. I don't believe in worshiping other human beings. Um, so I want to de-influence. I want to educate. I want to challenge. I think that was my first thing. And then my second purpose to is to touch people's soul so they can realize if they're going through the same situation or something similar. I want them to know that they're not alone and that there are solutions. There are things that you can do and use to address those situations. I want to make sure because I was lonely, I was alone when I dealt with those things, and I don't want anybody to go through the same thing. So if I can, I mean, even if it's just a nice talk, a conversation like what we have, or a short reel that I will post, or a little blog post, or even through my books, through all the things that I write. It's just my purpose is really to just to touch, to challenge, to educate, and to really show that you're not alone. No matter what you're going through, just know that you can always reach out. There's always things in place. It might not be obvious, but it's there.
Beautiful.
I ain't got nothing else. I'm good.
Oh, I got some for y'all.
Uh-oh.
He
All
got
right.
something
You
for us.
said,
He said he had another question he
something
was
else
holding on
for
to.
us. Let me hold
Yeah,
on. We're ready.
yeah. It's really bad.
Oh, no.
I'm messing with you. Um, so I know you're going on your 26th year next year.
Mhm.
Um, if you had, and I know it's something that you've probably heard before, but I really wanted to know if you had an advice for newlywed couples, so
Mhm.
like a year or less, what would be your advice to them as they continue on in their journey?
Um, I would say to know no different than when we look well, first of all, in the Bible it talks about first in the natural, then in the spiritual. And when we look at how God created the seasons,
Mm.
you have 4 seasons in a year. Just know your marriage will go through seasons. And that's what it is, a season. You're going to go through dry spells.
Mhm.
Winters I don't like in the natural. I don't like winters in my spiritual realm. You're going to go through those seasons where things will they appear to look dead. They appear to be dried up, just cold and lonely and all of those things. But hold on because it's just a season. And if you stick through it, eventually spring is going to come and everything is going to come back to life. It's a season. If you just stick through it, fight through it, just know, and I don't mean physically fight.
Yeah, you better
You know,
clarify.
right? Let's clarify that. You know, but see, just like in the natural, though, you have seasons in your marriage. You know, but a lot of times when you have times that you're not having fun and things don't look good, people give up. They throw in the towel, and it just no, it's a season. It'll pass.
For me, I would say I had all these thoughts while you were talking, but I had to stop so I can actually listen to what you were saying.
That was good. You were listening.
I was
That's
actually
good.
listening.
Active listening. That's
Active
dope.
listening.
Love it.
I would say for me, the advice I would give would be similar to not give up. Understand that this is probably my advice I always give, no matter every time somebody asks this question. Give everything that you have all the time. 50-50 doesn't exist. Your 100% right now might really only be 20, but give that 20. Give everything and understand that the real foundation of your marriage has got to be God, because you will have times where you want to throw in the towel. You will have times where you are angry and broken and whatever. But if we remember that what God did for us, then we can apply that to our marriage. When I don't want to put up with her,
It doesn't happen.
it doesn't happen. I'm just saying. But when she is getting on my nerves,
It doesn't.
oh, that happens. When she's tap dancing on my nerves, like
Ooh.
Tom Hanks on that big piano in Big.
Ooh. Well,
It doesn't.
that's specific. That
I understand that God is the source of everything. God forgave me. God gave me chance after chance after
Yeah.
chance, so I've got to give her chance after chance.
Mhm.
God forgave me of the stuff that I did wrong, so I've got to forgive myself for the things that I've done wrong in my marriage or will do wrong in my marriage. I have to relate everything back to the Father, because if He is the true foundation of everything that is you in your marriage will survive. We've had this conversation so many times about, is love enough? And my answer is always yes, because God is love and God doesn't fail at anything. So if you have love in your marriage, and meaning you have God in your marriage, He has the ability to reconcile anything. Period. Exclamation point. Exclamation point. Exclamation point.
That's good.
So that would be my advice. Yeah.
I'm gonna take this advice too.
You gonna take it?
I mean, I love it. Yeah, I think people really need to hear this.
Mhm.
When you said don't give up, it's just we see a lot of those couples who could have built stronger foundations but give up because of small things and things that they experience and witness. Um, it's really good.
It is, and we always tell the story about our issue. It literally was the traditional year 7, and we
Ooh.
literally woke up and couldn't stand each other, like literally, like
Feet in my feet.
Ooh.
and it was hard, but we didn't give up. We did everything, and that's another thing. Like you said, going back to what you said earlier about dating and everything being instantaneous gratification. People will give up on a marriage before they pray, before they even go get counseling,
Yeah.
before they read a book on marriage, before they even ask anybody for advice. Say, "Oh, I'm done, going to town." And I heard somebody say this, that irreconciled differences doesn't exist,
Oh, I
because
like that.
none of us are compatible, because we're all so different. So it's an excuse to say we didn't try. None of us are 100% compatible. Male, female. She's an extrovert. I'm an introvert. I love hip hop, and
And country.
I love every kind of music. I do. You know, she's in her vein. She cooks soul food. I cook anything. You know, you name it, I'm gonna try it. You know, but we're so different in so much. You know, so we're not really compatible because we are so different, but we make it work.
That's what makes us compatible.
So just incompatibility is it's not a thing because if we have God and if we have love, you learn to love and you learn things about your mate that at one point probably did get on your nerves, but now you love them for it. You know, I know for a fact that I'm a rocker. My leg is always going, always.
Yep.
I know when we first got married, it drove her crazy. But guess what? She can't even sleep in the bed if I'm not in the bed rocking now. So, you know what I'm saying? That
Yep.
very thing that drove her crazy in the beginning is the thing that she loves. And it's it goes throughout our relationship, throughout marriage, that you know, you find things to love about your spouse that you really didn't realize.
So let me apologize to whoever married my children
Oh,
because
because
they
them
got
jokers
it.
are rockers.
They got it from their daddy.
Oh.
They
They
did.
look.
They did. They did. But you know, I just think that we have got to stop throwing in the towel so
Yes.
easily.
Mhm.
You know, 1-2 years in it, nope, it just ain't work. Done. It's like you said, transactional, but we got to put in the work. Anything worth having is worth fighting for. Anything worth having is worth working for. You don't go to the gym and lift weights and come out there, you know, you tired, you worn out, but you know, in a couple of weeks, a couple of months, you're gonna be looking good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't go on, you know, you don't make the sacrifices for your family and your children without the expectation of it getting better. Everything in life requires some kind of sacrifice. So in your marriage, you got to sacrifice. I'll keep going. I'll keep going. We
Oh,
go on
that's
this podcast
good.
for 4 hours.
That's good. I love that. I think
Well,
it's
I
yeah.
have so appreciated you being here, Dre.
Absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
are
Thanks for having
a
me.
joy. You are, how do I say it? I've only met this man 2 times. And in those 2 times, I feel like you are so authentic. You are so
Absolutely.
real. You are you are what you are. And I appreciate that because it's rare. You know what I'm saying? And as a father from one father to another father, I love what you're doing. And like I said the other day, we are always second guessing our fatherhood.
That's
How
right.
to, when to, did we do it right? Keep doing what you're doing. Trust God, man. And God is going to reward you for your faithfulness, you know. And I wish you the best in every endeavor, everything you put your hands to do. I really believe that it's going to prosper, man. But you are a
Appreciate
wonderful
that.
human being, a wonderful individual.
But I do have a
Same to
request.
y'all.
Thank you. I do have a request. I do have a request. I do have a request. So you're officially family now.
Yes.
Okay. So you did tell me you speak 4 languages, right?
Yes.
Oh Lord.
Okay. So what 4 languages do you speak?
Okay. So we got English, of course. We got French, Portuguese, and Spanish.
Okay. So I need you to say something to me
Oh.
Oh.
in the other 3 languages.
Okay.
Just I don't care what it is. Say something to me in the other 3 languages.
Okay.
I would like to hear the same sentence in all 3 languages to see the difference.
Same one. Okay. Okay. Vous êtes un couple incroyable.
That was in French, right?
French.
Mhm.
Okay.
Você é maravilhoso. Portuguese.
Okay.
Tu eres increíble. Spanish.
Okay. Now what did you say?
You are an incredible and inspiring couple. I was trying to find the right words in English.
Oh, okay.
But yes.
English is a hard language. I don't care what nobody
So,
says.
yeah.
That's awesome, and thank you for the
so
compliment.
And I mean it. I
much.
truly mean it.
Thank you.
It's
That's awesome.
I think, I'm really guarded, with friendships, and I think I'm still working on opening up a bit more.
Been there.
Yeah, right. But when you meet the right people, you start to believe in friendship again. You start to believe in love, not just in your marriage or relationship, but love from friends. And I've been struggling with that. Yeah, so
Mhm.
so I'm still guarded, but it's when I meet incredible people like you, that's when I start to realize there's still hope. And it's something that I've been really, really struggling with. So that's really good for me to be surrounded by people who actually care. What you do with the podcast is more than just sharing your experience. You are like truly helping people heal. Eventually, they're going to hear this, pass it on to their friends, their acquaintances, and that may change a marriage that is on the brink of collapse, or it may change a broken friendship. It may change something like a divorce that's in progress. Things like that. So I really appreciate that. Yeah, it's
Thank you.
it's deep.
That is. I don't know what to say after that.
In closing, I'll close this out then since David didn't know what to say, which you all know is rare. But
Yeah,
in
I'm quiet
closing,
until I get on this podcast.
yeah. So in closing, I do want to say this though. If you or anybody that you know is struggling with thoughts of suicide, with depression, bipolar, if you're struggling with it, or you know anybody else that is, then I just encourage you, get help. Seek counseling, encourage
Mhm.
them to get counseling because we're especially with us getting ready to go into the season of the holidays. A lot of
Yes.
people feel isolated, feel alone. So just we just encourage you, seek help, talk to somebody. So this podcast, I want to say we're going to dedicate this to the memory of Alexis, just to keep her memory alive, especially through those beautiful boys, my little nephews.
I know that's right.
So we're going to dedicate this to her memory. So thank you all so, so, so much for hanging in there with us
Mhm.
tonight, for tuning in. Make sure you share, 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 share this podcast.
Yeah.
Again, thank you for tuning in. We love you as always, and we will see you again next month. Thanks again. We love you.
Love you. Have a great night.
Have a
Love
good
you.
night.